Hey everybody, Jake here for American Trucks, and today we're taking a look at these factory-style headlights with black housings and clear lenses fitting 2007 to 2014 Silverado 2500s. Now these headlights are perfect for the HD Silverado owner who wants or needs a replacement for their originals and wants to make a visual update while they're at it. These are going to keep your original type of bulbs and lighting sources, but bring a healthy dose of style to the front of your truck, all for a price that's sure to fit into any budget. Now, I make no secret that I'm a Chevy truck guy, and I love these GMT 900s just as much as I love some of the other ones. However, that is not to say that they're without their foibles. One of them is the fact that the GMT 900 platform trucks are very prone to fading and cracking headlights. So if yours are looking a little bit worse for wear, or even if you just want to mix it up without going too overboard on some kind of aftermarket setup, these are going to appeal to you. As the name would indicate, they mimic the overall style of the factory ones, keeping that dual halogen beam setup, but they differ a bit, mostly in the colorway. So instead of the standard chrome inner housings, these have this nice stealthy black. Now they keep the standard chrome reflectors here, but they are just a little bit more slick looking with that black inner housing. In addition to that, the amber signals on your stock lights are eliminated in favor of these clear ones on the outer edges. Again, same setup, just a different color. Now, if you keep your standard halogen amber bulbs, these are still gonna light up that nice bright normal amber color, but the reflectors themselves don't have it. So when everything is off, it just kind of looks like this. Now the aesthetics here I think really work well with the styling of these trucks, especially if you're keeping it mostly OEM plus with your build, or even if you're going for that fully blacked out look. These are gonna look pretty nice on there. Now you also, of course, get the benefit of all new crystal clear lenses. Now these alone are gonna be an improvement, especially for aging or yellowing factory lights, but this setup means that you get that cool look without having to sacrifice lighting output. Speaking of which, as you might have already figured out, again, alluding to the name, these are gonna utilize factory style bulbs. So you've got 9005s for your high beams, H11s for your low beams. So you get to save a little bit of money by just bringing over your current bulbs. Or if you want to upgrade, we've got some nice choices on the site for you as well. Having said that, a fully halogen setup is going to mean that buy-in here is low and running costs are also low. Replacement bulbs are readily available too, so if one does happen to go out on you on a job site or out on a trail or on a road trip somewhere, you're going to be able to snag a replacement bulb pretty much anywhere you can find auto parts, put it back in and be on your way and still be well lit and get to enjoy those nice crystal clear lenses. Now, as you might expect, construction is your standard polypropylene plastic for the outer housings with polycarbonate lenses on the outside. These are also sealed to help keep out dirt and moisture, and they are also DOT and SAE approved as they've got integrated adjusters on the back. So overall, they're very comparable to your factory lights. The materials and the construction are all pretty much the same, albeit with some different aesthetic elements to differentiate them. But where these really differentiate themselves from the factory options though, is that price. Coming in at just about $200, these are pretty much the most affordable set of replacement headlights you can get for these trucks. Now you'd spend far more than this on just one replacement or one side from GM themselves. So I think these represent a pretty darn good value. Now you are of course not getting new bulbs or LEDs or anything like that, and that's going to account for a lot of that cost savings versus some other more premium aftermarket headlights. However, if you want better looks and performance for a reasonable price, these really can't be beat, and I think they look great on a GMT 900. Now installation gets a 1 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and you should expect it to take you about an hour to complete the job. Now these are totally plug and play, so they're gonna pop right in place of your factory lenses. They use all the factory mounting points. You are of course gonna need to swap over your bulbs, but no modifications are necessary, and this is certainly a job that you can tackle at home. And to show you exactly how to get it done, we're gonna hand it over now to one of our AT customers.
For this installation, you'll need some needle nose pliers, 10mm wrench, flathead screwdriver, Phillips head screwdriver, ratchet, and a 10mm socket and a 7mm socket. All right, so you're gonna start by removing all these little push tabs that's over your grill and in your engine bay. Just use a flat nose screwdriver, or if you have a removal tool, little pry tool, you can use that as well. I've always used these. And then they just come out one piece, and then your second piece, be sure to kind of put them together so you don't lose them. Set them aside. Like I said, it's important to keep these together so you don't lose them. Alright, once you have all those removed, you can simply pull this piece off, set it to the side. Alright guys, once you have that top trim piece removed, you need to remove the grill, and you have 4 bolts, 10 millimeter. Once those are removed, set them to the side because you will use them later. All right, next step, you're gonna have all these little pull tabs in here. I believe there is 2 on each side, 3 on each side. So all you're gonna do is, this is where your needle nose pliers come into play. And all you're gonna do is, I'm just gonna pinch it, pinch. So you're gonna want to have your needle nose pinch and then push out, and you'll hear it pop and give. All right, once you have all those push tabs, you'll have everything exposed, and you'll have your grill. These are the push tabs. Just use the needle nose. It was hard to do it with one hand and trying to record, but once you get those off, it'll be off and you're ready to start on the headlights. All right guys, we're on the passenger side. We're gonna start with this headlight. So in order to get to this bolt in here behind the light, you have to remove a few of these screws in the fender lining. So start with the bottom one. There's one, and then there's one more right here. That's gonna be your 7. So this bottom one is a 10, top one's gonna be a 7 millimeter. So have both of your sockets handy. All right, so those are removed, and now we can gain access. All right, so our first bolt is going to be right up there. Mine's covered in dirt. I'm sure yours is similar, but we're going to remove that, and it is a 10 millimeter. If you can get your socket in there and ratchet, that'd be best, but I believe we're going to have to use a wrench. So yeah, just take your time. It'll be a while before you get that. All right, now that we have the bottom screw bolt off underneath the fender well, you have 2 more 10 millimeters. Then you need to take out one here and one here. They should come off pretty easy. The one behind the headlight, I just had to give it a few turns and it gave right in. So you're going to remove these. And unless you have like a cold air intake like I have here, there won't be anything attached, but for my truck, I do have that in there, so you can disregard this part if your truck is stock. All right, so that screw is out. Remember, set it aside so you don't lose it. And here we go on the top one. All right, we have both of those out. So our headlight is loose. Now it's time for one of the more tricky parts, and that's getting the actual unit out. You know, it has little grommets in here, but we have our 3 bolts out. So next thing you're gonna wanna do is just pull. It kind of gets boogered in there. You just kind of have to wiggle around until it finally gives. And then once you get here, you have this little disconnect here. You can even take that clip off, flip it around, and you just, it's a push tab. And it comes out like that. Headlight is now disconnected. All right, now that your headlight is out, we need to take the factory wiring off, and we'll transfer to the new one. So it's just gonna be a 1/4 turn for all of these. Factory harness is removed. All right, now we have to install the wiring harness into the new headlight unit. And try to not touch the bulbs unless you're wearing latex gloves. And if you're changing your bulb, or you need to change your bulbs, now would be a good time. So you just have to match up where it enters. And then twist. Sometimes it lines up perfect, other times it does not. But you do have one big entry, and then your other ones are smaller, so it can only go in one way. So as you can see, it just popped in. And I gave it a turn. So we are now in for that bulb, which is your running lights. Now we're going for our brights. So we have that one in. Now we're doing our signal lights. Then you can kind of see, based off of the lengths of them, which one goes to which. So obviously the shorter one is going to be closer. So these side bulbs can be a little more tricky, but like I said, it's a tight fit, but once you get your holes lined up and the whole thing pops in like that, you're good to go. And you just give it your 1/4 turn. Make sure that gasket's in there nice and tight. You're gonna do the same thing over here. So I can see my small one. It's right there. Okay, so that popped in, 1/4 turn. Factory harness is now installed. All right guys, now we have our new headlight unit and our factory harness put in. Now we just have to connect it to the power, which, remember this little clip right here? Push in. Now we have our truck one. You'll hear a little click once you know it's in. I try to leave the plastic on, so while I'm pushing and stuff, I'm not scratching the new lens. So now, again, this is gonna be the difficult part, is getting this back in past this fender. So just, I know it's hard, but try to be as gentle as you can with it, and you just have to keep maneuvering it around. You can see mine just went in. You have 2 grommets in here, and you'll see where it lines up with your thing up here, which I'll show afterwards, but you're just gonna want, so here's something that I found. Whenever you take your old unit out, make sure you get your grommet out. Pretty flimsy and they break, so That's what was hanging me up. And then you'll see your two holes right in there, 1 and 2, that you line up with these two parts, boom and boom. So like I said, it's pretty difficult, but once you get things going, shouldn't be too bad. Like I said, the hardest part is this. This little rubber piece that goes all the way around. You can kind of get your hands under there and there we go. So you'll hear it pop in. Your body lines are good. Now you have to install the bolts. All right, now we're ready to do the bolt that is behind the fender well. Highly recommend having a headlamp on. I went and got one, but you're going to take the size 10 bolt that we took out originally. And then you'll have to feel around in there. And once you get it started, it's taken me a while. It's just such a odd place to get started. I would recommend some WD-40. I mean, it's hard to get in there, but once you have it started, you should be good to go. And it's easier to get your right hand in there and then just thread it as much as you can with your fingers, because getting that wrench in there is going to be tough. Again, it's just a weird angle. Okay, now we get our 10mm wrench and tighten. Like I said, you want it tight but not over tightened, because this is against plastic, so you don't want to crack the plastic that's holding this in, because it does have a washer, so you're getting good surface area on it. But you know, just tighten it down to where it gives you a little bit of resistance. Don't over tighten. That is a big thing you want to avoid. Okay, that part is done. Before we do put our fender well back, we're going to retighten everything once we get it adjusted on here. So remember, this is where you have your two 10mm bolts, and one goes right here. So this thing will move around until you fully tighten it, so it's good to get all your bolts in, but not tighten them all the way, and then you can adjust it and then retorque when necessary after we get the installation done. So everything will kind of push together once we have everything in. So we have the bottom one, now we have our top one in. So see how that gave me resistance and it popped out, but once I have all the bolts in, now we're ready to put a good tighten on it. Like I said, it all kind of wedges in together. Okay, so now we have our top ones tightened. We are in place here. So now we're going to go back underneath the fender well and retighten. All right, so now we're back under, and like I said, this shifted a little bit, so I can even hand tighten it a little more. So we want to be sure that this is our last step. Since this is the most difficult, we want to get everything tightened up front so we know that this one is secure and we don't bolt this down and it gives us problems up top. So like I said, we're just retorquing what we've already tightened. Mine had a lot of slack in it. It could be different for everyone else's. like I said, if you have a ratcheting wrench, that would be a lot better and easier. See, mine had a lot of slack. I'm just now getting some good resistance from it, but all right, so now it's getting pretty hard to turn, so that's the final torque on that one. And now we are going to put our fender liner back in. So we had two sizes. We had a size 7 and a size 10. The size 7 goes on top, which is right here, and you can see from the side when you're able to get it in and start it. Sometimes it'll get hung up to where you can't tighten by hand anymore. And there's good resistance. Now we're gonna switch sockets and go to 10, and we're going to do the one down in here. If you get in there, you can look, or you can pop this out like so, and then just feel around. All right, so got it started. All right, so now we have finished install on the passenger side. And for the driver side, you're just going to repeat the first steps in the video we did on the passenger. It's going to be the exact same process, so just refer to that footage and you'll do the same for your driver side.
That's going to wrap it up here for our review and install of the factory style headlights with black housings and clear lenses fitting 2007 to 2014 Silverado 2500s. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, for all things Silverado, be sure to keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.